We have today with us His Excellency, Mr. Malay Mishra, who's Ambassador of India to Hungary, a very senior diplomat, has been in the Indian Foreign Service for a long time. And I'll share also a student from JNU. And welcome, Mr. Mishra.
Thank you
It's a
very
pleasure
much.
to have with us in the studio to share your experiences about promoting India to our tourism students. And the most recent thing which Mr. Mishra did, in fact, I'll say the first thing which he did to promote India after shifting over to Hungary as ambassador from the Caribbean, that he organized, motivated the students and teachers from Edgar to come to India for an educational tour. And the basic idea was to give them an idea of the continuity, change and modernity of India. That's what we call India then and now. And it is in this respect I'll discuss with Mr. Malay Mishra that how did he actually promote the whole thing.
Well, before you ask me something, let me convey my heartfelt gratitude and thanks to you personally for having so much taken your efforts into putting the best for this group. It couldn't have been better.
Well, we tried actually because it's a question of national prestige.
When I gave you that responsibility, I knew that it's going to be a success, and it was a success. And I got a very full of praise email from the leader of this group, Dr. Agnes Horwath, who was all praise for you, all praise for IGNOU, all praise for whatever the group saw in India and the first glimpse. They're all coming first time to India.
They were first timers.
Yeah, and we gave them a briefing in the embassy, but I felt that even after the briefing, their knowledge was hardly there about India. It's very surprising though, because I know that India holds a pride of place in Hungarian hearts. For centuries, India has been the coveted land, their destination for any kind of Hungarian explorers, Indologists, anthropologists, people who are in search of spirituality, knowledge. They make India their home, and they come and live in India for a long time. In recent times, they are looking at India as also an education destination. They are wanting to have, since there is this IT, kind of image of India as an IT power in the world, they want to gain something out of India by virtue of IT. Everyone knows that India is very strong in mathematics, for example. You go to any university in Hungary, they'll say, first thing the professor will say, I know your students are very strong in mathematics. And they all know that India invented the zero. So, and IT. Now it is a IT prowess which India holds to the rest of the world.
So it's with this aspect of India you picked up when you advised them to why not visit India.
That's right. And this was the first organized tour from India, from Hungary to India. This Eger College which came. I visited Eger, I gave them a lecture on India and found that the same thing, that the level of awareness about India was not very high, though they were college senior students of the university. It's a deemed university. So I suggested, why don't you plan a trip to India? So it all came out after that.
It came, then the correspondence started and we worked out the whole thing and all. Because it was quite revealing when we had a session with them on India's foreign policy. We organized a full seminar. So very interesting things came on India-Hungary relations, like way back in 1841. A Hungary Tamil dictionary was made in India by one of the scholars. In fact, it was quite a new thing for me to learn over there. And Marita Shergill, she was half Hungarian. And luckily at that time, her paintings were also being on display, exhibited.
In NGM.
We could make it at that time over there. But that was interesting. I tell you, for our students' point of view, actually, it's very important that when we make this kind of a trip, group, we take it. My first anxiety was about their food and health, that because Hungary food styles are very different. So how do we make them accustomed to the Indian food which they are going to have it there? And then we decided that though I'm pretty sure that they had some experience of Indian food in embassy or
Yeah, in
like
Budapest they have a number of Indian restaurants.
yeah, some of them were. In fact,
So
I
some
found
of
them
them
eating
are used.
green chilies also. Two of them
Yeah,
were
but
having
they
that.
have this paprika which they have invented, their own national invention.
I see.
Paprika is something like a chili. It looks like a chili. It's not as hot.
Okay.
And they have different grades of paprika, different grades of hotness of the chili. But the hottest of paprika is so mild for our taste.
Oh, I see.
So that is the taste. So anything they put in the mouth which is hotter than that is really hot for them.
And
So
then
they were all asking me, will Indian food be that hot? I
hot.
said, yes, you have to gradually get accustomed to,
Well,
that
that's
kind
what
of
they said while going back, and now we are so accustomed to that. First 2 days we'll hog Hungarian food, and then we'll miss Indian food over there. Then, as planned, what we tried to do, we showed them the continuity and change of the Indian situation. So, different aspects which we could cover during that period, even 2 visits outside Delhi. One was to Jaipur, the other was to Fatehpur Sikri and Agra. Now, they were amazed by Indian urbanization when it came to seeing
I had
Gurgaon and
suggested
these
that
areas.
they should visit Gurgaon.
They did. They did visit Gurgaon. They did visit Kingdom of Dreams also. One evening they were there. And plus they could see the crowds, how they are moving, the traffic. These were the aspects. But at the same time, shopping, another thing which they loved. Though in student tours, I think I always tell my students that the students will be going for very up shopping kind of a thing. But they did go for a lot of like jewelry, artificial jewelry, something related to leather and some other things they were conducting.
They would be fond of ethnic wear very much.
You see, this is where again the segmentation aspect came. I thought because I was comparing that with the group from Trinidad, which was very much interested in ethnic wares in India. This group I found that they liked it very much, but they say we don't wear it, can't wear it normally in Hungary, So what they were looking for was a mix of ethnic wear in modern designs. That can go by the European, whatever their dress styles are, with those kind of things and all. But what I feel is, and I think that's one is I'm pretty sure that with this experience, the world will go around in Hungary now about student trips and with your efforts.
And I will go back and they plan to invite me again to Ega.
Okay.
So I will go and then they'll discuss with me what happened in the
Definitely.
trip. And
In fact, that feedback also would be very useful at all, because what we are doing, we are now encouraging our students also to do research on these aspects. You see, a lot of research is done on the up-budget tourist, a lot of research is done on cultural tourism, adventure tourism and all. But now what we are encouraging is, in fact, I have a student working under me who's researching on student groups, educational groups, because their needs, their requirements, their understanding would be slightly different from those who are coming as other up-budget or very up-budget tourist groups and all. And because among the youth what we find is that there's a very definite inquisitiveness to understand India, what India is, whatever they heard about India earlier by your embassy efforts there and all. They're very inquisitive and they would stop at times to ask me, no, I want to see this. I want to understand it totally, And well, things fascinated them. They were fascinated by these snake charmers in Amer Fort, when it was there. When they looked at the metro, they were fascinated what it went through.
did they take a metro ride?
No, they couldn't because the schedules were such. But Delhi Heart, they enjoyed very much. In fact, they went second time on demand that we should go to Delhi.
Delhi Heart is a good place. In fact, I would suggest that whatever tourist groups come and you doing their tourism part, Delhi Heart you should keep as,
Definitely. We,
as a
in
must.
fact,
in the
what was
itinerary.
kept on the schedule, Delhi Hearts. Then another thing which they enjoyed was the emporiums. Because all arts and all crafts of India, in one Baba Kadak Singh Marg side, you find everything over there. So that also, one has to give a glimpse to the students of what Indian crafts, what Indian textiles these are. If we can't take them to different places, I think that's the best place to take them over. And they enjoyed that very much. And even they went to Cottage Emporium also, having a look at that. And another thing which stunned them was the continuity of Indian traditional arts, particularly when they went to Akshardham, which you had suggested that they must visit. And they were amazed to see these arts still continue. There is a modern, these engravings, these sculptures, all those aspects. And we told them, you see that India has a living culture and a living tradition of more than 5,000 years. So that's what you find here. You can find still here a barber by the roadside, and you'll find a beautiful saloon also for haircuts. And I was trying to tempt them that how would they promote now India when they go back, what they have to. And I could see that already when they were here, they were on their Facebook, putting up the photographs which they have taken, telling their experiences to friends, sharing with them. And then I said, well, friends is one, but would you ask your parents, your other, because to come to India and have an experience of India? And they said, yes, because we, and some of them was very interesting, they said, when we marry, we'll come for honeymoon to India. You see, so it was welcome over there, because they realized this aspect that India is one country, which you can't see in 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, something like that.
There are many repeat tourists, incidentally, from Hungary. There are three kinds of tourists from Hungary, basically. One are the
In fact,
tourists.
I was going to ask you that from the embassy when
The normal people who come for tourism, and they mostly visit North India.
Okay.
If they are visiting India first time, they would go to this Golden Triangle.
Okay, that is
the first time,
traditional.
and everybody must pay a call on Taj Mahal and Jaipur. They have heard and all that, and they would go back. But the second time they will come, they will go down. They may go to Mumbai, they may go to Goa, sometimes they may go to Kerala. Now in Hungary, what has happened is their tourism industry is very well developed, extremely well developed, and they have these thermal baths, and they have like about 1,000 baths all over in small, big, medium town size towns all over. Even in Budapest, they would have 10 such baths. Turkish baths, they have other kinds of baths where they have these springs, thermal springs.
Okay.
And they have these natural waters in which they have therapeutic value, those waters. And they pay, they enter, they spend the whole time in bathing. Different kinds of baths they have. So they are used. So the Kerala, they know that there is something like Ayurvedic massage, Ayurvedic bath, Ayurvedic resort, you get those privileges. So they go there to Kerala. So we are now promoting Ayurveda in a big way. In fact, you would be happy to know that we recently set up our Ayush Information Center in the embassy, which is the first center to be set up in the whole of Europe.
Oh, in Hungary also? Because
Yes.
you did that in Caribbean, I remember.
That's right. We have opened a center. Now we are going to set up a chair in the University of Debrecen. Now Debrecen is the second largest city of Hungary after Budapest, and their university is known to be the best university outside of Budapest. And there we are setting up of a chair of Ayurveda, and a chair is being selected, a professor is going from here. So the other two groups of people are, one is professionals.
Okay, business and all,
Yeah,
industry, whatever.
and professionals also include people who are going for employment. Let's say somebody has got a job in an airline, he will come and all that.
Okay.
So that is that category. All kinds of professionals, we are quite open to giving them visas, and they do.
Oh, they're
come.
getting work visas for India?
Okay. They get work visas for India, and we just scrutinize their applications and they come. So these are, the other people are normally those people who are coming for long-term stay. For example, who are marrying Indians, or who are married Indians, or who are married to Indians outside, and they're coming and settling themselves here. So you will find a few Hungarians of that category also, and their idea is to live in India. And those people are the most, they are much more acculturized Hungarians to India than any other Indian. So because they have come to make India their home, they have left Hungary. And it's a very interesting phenomenon. There are quite a few of Hungarian women now who are marrying Indians. One was working in our embassy. She just recently resigned her job to come and marry a person here. She is now living in Rishikesh.
I see.
Now, you can't imagine a girl who's lived all her life
I
in
know.
Budapest,
That's
living Budapest and coming and would be living in a small town like Rishikesh. And I asked her why she is doing that. She says, I love India. I
That's
love
a
India
very
and
interesting,
I would love to
which
go and stay in
shows
Rishikesh.
the strength of the Indian culture as a pull
Exactly, that's what
factor,
we're talking about, the
the pull
civilization
factor which we
aspect.
talk in tourism.
Yeah.
And don't you think about the pensioners and the retired people, because India is still not expensive like Europe or other destinations, because one has been seeing a growth in India from East Europe, particularly from Russia, of tourists visiting India. Similar kind of things in Hungary. That
They would come, but not many because their medical facilities are also quite good, I must say,
okay.
and quite reasonable compared to Western
No,
European.
I'm just saying from touristic point of view, if they have to take a
You
holiday.
see, if you promote medical tourism, for example, particularly the traditional medicine side, and you promote Kerala, the facilities which Kerala offers, which I was just now mentioning, people will be interested to come. Even the other Western medicine which we are offering, that also could be, attractive. But unfortunately, I mean, with all due regard to what tourism industry is here in India, I think we do not promote India, the aspects of India which we need to promote.
You see, there has been some problems also, because initially the tourism industry, when they were marketing their products, they looked at certain countries that these countries don't have a market, which was a wrong hypothesis.
No, things
Because
are
in
changing
every
now.
country things have changed so much. Like India, bulging middle class. Now
Yeah.
Indians are moving all around. I'm told Switzerland is getting a very big chunk of Indian tourists now over there. Or earlier, no one would have bothered that tourists should come from India to their country. So similarly, the whole policy and the whole strategy in relation to finding the markets for India has to be revived a bit. And this is where I thought that this youth segment which you are doing, because youth and these university students and teachers, I have been always advocating that once they have a good experience in India, now they are ambassadors for India for another 30 years. Because the teachers,
Only
whosoever
if it is
generations will
only
be passing.
if it is sustained
It's
over
sustained,
a period
over.
of time.
That's-
It shouldn't be one time and then gone and people will forget. So you have to develop it with linkages. For example, Agar comes to you and you develop some kind of linkage with Agar, and through Agar you move on to other places.
That's right.
And then you have more and more college universities coming, because there is a kind of growing interest in India, but that interest needs to be sustained with constant visits to
You see,
and fro.
this has happened quite a bit at the school level in India. There are schools in Delhi I know which interact with homestay kind of a thing. The foreign students will come here, and 20 students are coming, so those 20 students are coming and staying in the houses of 20 Indian students who are of that school. Or Indian students going there, they're staying over there. That kind of activity, I think I remember Delhi Public School has done it. Goenka has done it, some others have done it in Delhi. That kind of exchange is taking place more at the school level. Now, university levels exchange has mainly been in terms of conferences and all. And that's why we were suggesting that there can be not only joint seminars and conferences and workshops, but there are very common interest areas of research also, which can be there. And then short faculty exchange programs like visiting professors or lecture programs where the faculty members can go lecture there on India for about 10 days, 15 days, that kind of a thing, and people coming from Hungary and doing those things over here. Because one more aspect I have been propagating in India is that, you see, it's not just always the big developed countries, but we in India now, in the birth of globalization, must also understand the countries which are developing and the countries which are moving up. We have to understand them also, their cultures, their economies, the trade for every aspects, to not only to
I
develop.
think it's a fallacy to look at this artificial distinction between developed and developing now.
Develop these
The
aspects,
lines
you
are
see.
blurring.
Blurring.
What is developed today may be developing tomorrow, and what is developing today may be developed tomorrow. So there is nothing like developed and developing in terms of looking at a global society. Nothing at all. And if you are looking at promoting India to the rest of the world, you shouldn't care really for the developed world and the developing world. The
Put
entire
it
world
at
is your
the
market.
India, entire
And
world.
wherever you find people who are more keen, for example, in Hungary, you will get a population who will be keen towards looking at India. And let me tell you that they are jumping over India and going to Thailand, or going to Malaysia,
I
or
know.
going to Korea, or going to Japan. I said, why do you do that? You pass through India. they never get that incentive to come to India. Somehow it is lost on the way. Somehow. And unfortunate that it is that tourism offices abroad, they do very little
Well, you see, that is one
lip
aspect.
service for
See,
the
the
tourism
other
promotion.
aspect I have found, and this was told to me way back by one Mr. P.K. Dong, who's supposed to be our best, tourism managers in Europe. He remained in Berlin for a long time. That now tourism is hard economics also. And what is happening in this kind of a trade is that the tour operators from Thailand, from Malaysia, are offering more discounts and more commissions to the outbound tour operators from Europe.
Yeah.
So the reason is we Indian tour operators are offering 10% or 12%. They go and jump up to 15% and 18%. And in that kind of a situation, that tour operator, though the tourist may be interested in coming to India, discourages the tourists to come India to make one's own profits by sending them to Thailand and Malaysia. That's another competitive aspect which has come into the trade, for which we have to look into very seriously. And
Our main